Welcome to session 3 of the Radnor Memorial Library's 5-week summer session of Pilates, which is functional movement. So when we move through the day, we stand, we walk, we drive, and we sit. And so when we're using our bodies, functional movement means using your body mechanically as well as you possibly can, so that there's less wear and tear, there's bringing more muscles, tendons, ligaments, and fascia into your movement of your skeleton. And people misunderstand that flexibility is just being loose. Flexibility is being able to use your joints in their greatest range of motion. So life brings us injuries, occupational habits where we sit a lot, everything's in front of us, we're forward oriented. So what we want to do is use corrective movement, and that's what Pilates and functional movement is corrective movements so that we get through our day better. And then even if you were to run a marathon, or if you're a professional athlete, or if you're a kindergarten school teacher and you're over little children, or if you work from home, whatever you do, that you just do it with better body mechanics, lifting your bags from the supermarket into your car. And the more we do this, the more our brain creates better memories. So today what we're going to do are the basic 5 exercises in mat work in Pilates. So many of you may know that there's equipment involved in Pilates, but the equipment is meant to access more of your body to do better movement through space where we get no feedback. So being on a mat and being on your back, your sides, your belly, all your different feedback, so that when you get up into space, you have the idea of how you're moving, and it just becomes natural. And I didn't introduce myself today. I'm Carol Behringer, and I'm the owner of Pilates and More in Wayne, Pennsylvania. And you'll see my email address go across the bottom of the screen from time to time, so that any questions you have, and any way I can help you, just email me and I will get back to you. Okay, so we are going to get down on our mats, and we're going to warm up our spines, because I've said this in the previous sessions that you're only as young as your spine, and you may have heard that. So we're going to sit, and we want to get this alignment of hips, knees, and feet. And we have been misled that the hips are the sides of our pelvis. Our hips are actually, if you took your feet apart where your fist could fit between there, your ankles, your knees, and your thigh bones go into your pelvis, and then the hip socket is a ball and socket joint that goes in. So it's really much more narrow. So if we just follow that up, you'll feel that it's probably a good, maybe even 6 inches inside towards the center of your body. All right. We're first just going to warm up the spine. So I want you to hook your hands behind your thighs. You can take it up to we call this a knee pit, elbow pit. And so you're going to keep your feet weighted on the mat, and you're just going to sit as tall as you can up on your sits bones. And you're going to pull your breastbone up off your belly button. So you can literally put your pinky in your belly button, thumb on your breastbone, and pull that apart. And if someone were behind me right now with a spotlight, they'd see space between each one of my vertebrae. So we're just going to roll over the sits bones, which are those pointy bottom pieces of your pelvis, and then just come back up on an inhale. Fill with air, and then exhale through a soft jaw, and just go back and see if you can go until your arms get straight without your feet popping up. So we want to keep the feet weighted. Let's do 3 more of that. Exhale. So this warm-up is going to lead to the 5 basic mat movements in Pilates for today. So each time you go back, you might feel that you're sinking lower. Your arms aren't getting longer. Your spine is beginning to move. And you want to feel it all the way up to the top parts of your shoulder blades. Now, let's take the arms out in front of you and make it a little more challenging. So you're going to just roll back until you feel like you might get a cramp right up there by your breastbone, and then push your hands forward, pull your abs back to inhale and sit up and settle those shoulders. We tend to wear our shoulders up by our ears. So it's almost as if you could even put your hands on your knees and press down to get this feeling. It's called oppositional energy. We're reaching, so this lengthens the muscles to strengthen them. They come towards your skeleton to move you through space. And if you look at your body as it's moving, you'll see the engagement. And the way we use our bodies is the way our body shapes. So now we're going to go all the way down. So lengthen out one leg, take your hand behind your thigh, and then roll on down one bone at a time. And then bend your knees. So that was called rollbacks, and that's what we're going to do for today. That will eventually become a full roll-up during this series. So now we're going to go into a warm-up where it gets your blood circulating. And we're going to use a lot of breath, and it's called the hundreds because we're going to take 10 breaths, inhaling for the count of 5 and exhaling for the count of 5. So we're going to start with the feet down, and you can either have your feet and knees touching, or if you want a little more challenge, you just take your feet out. So again, they would just be, the heels would be in line with your sitting bones, those bony protuberances at the bottom of your pelvis. So the first thing that's going to be might be a wee bit uncomfortable is how do we pick up our heads? Because we're used to going like this with the chin, leading with the chin. So I'm going to suggest that you put your hands behind your head, and if you can keep them wide, that's fine, your elbows, that is. If you can keep your elbows wide, do that. And hook your thumbs at the occipital ridge, that's that dent, where the dent starts, and your neck connects to your skull. And you're just going to pick your head up with your hands and nod your chin forward so that you come up to look at your shirt. Nothing here has changed. This is all stable, and then just lie that back down. This is a really good upper body exercise, even though it looks so simple. So feet are planted, pick up the head, and if this is still putting a lot of tension in the front of your neck, if you're on a mat, you can take the corners of the mat, just let your head relax into the mat. You could do it on a bath towel. And then if you just pick up your head in the mat or the towel without any tension in your neck, you'll feel how your abdominals engage. And then take that down. So if this is what you need to do, what you'll do is inhale and exhale and count to 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, and then lengthen down. And we'll take note of some things that are going on. So this is good for everybody to start with. Inhale here, exhale. So I said we were counting 5, so we're going to count 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, and then just again, empty neck, your head's just laying into the mat or the towel. And when we come up the next time, exhale, pay attention if you're keeping your feet flat, how your hamstrings are involved. You can feel your low abs anchoring your belly. And now we're going to graduate. Hands behind the head, thumbs at that occipital ridge, head is into the hands, and then pick up the head with the hands. So this is strengthening your upper ab connection. We tend to just use the middle, but we have to learn how to use below the belt and in the rib cage area. Okay, we're going to start pumping our arms to create circulation. So pick up your head to look at your belly. Keep one hand on your head. Take the other arm at shoulder height. Nothing else moves. And inhale 2, 3, 4, 5, and exhale. Inhale through the nose and exhale through a soft jaw. Keep lengthening through the back of the neck. You don't want to collapse in the front, and you don't want stress in the front. We want to be in tension without being tense. Switch arms and keep pumping. Inhaling through the nose for 5 counts, exhaling. Now try letting go with the other arm. Push the fingertips forward. And if this is not challenging, the more parts we take up off away from gravity, the more challenging it becomes. You can squeeze the legs together. Don't do anything to pain or fatigue. And the last challenge would be to straighten the legs completely out and not feel it in your low back. So those are the ways that we take ourselves off the mat and away from center to keep challenging. So you always want to stay where you feel confident before you move on to the next. So we're building. This is movement re-education. And now we're going to come up to roll like a ball. So extend one leg again, hold on to the other one, come up and look at that foot, and then use that upper ab curl and pulling the abs back to roll on up. So to roll like a ball, I want you to bring your heels close to your torso, close to your pelvis, and hold on to the back of your legs. And first, so you're going to sit up as tall as you can, pulling the breastbone up off the belly button and pick up your heels. A lot of low belly engagement. Once the heels are up, just as we started that roll back action at the very beginning when we were warming up, just roll over your sits bone so you're not collapsing. You're holding that breastbone up off the belly button. Lots of space in the spine. Now, if you have osteoporosis, you might want to just stay with this, and we can make it more difficult by picking the toes up off the ground. If you have a healthy or semi-healthy spine, and you're just going to keep pulling the abs back. This is called rolling like a ball, and just roll to your shoulder blades and exhale. And first when you come up, you might wiggle like this, because that means the front muscle on your body wants to take over, and we're using all 4 layers of the abdominals. So you're just going to roll gently down your spine and pick up the tailbone, exhale to come up. And I know that looks simple. Some of this might be going on where you and then come up. So you want to keep your head engaged. You want your head to follow your spine. So roll on down, pick up the tailbone, exhale up. And your upper body is engaged because you're holding on here and you're pulling the abs back. So this connection that we've had behind the head, we've had it in front of us. So we're trying to use the whole body every time. Let's just take 2 more of these. So the idea is that we don't do a lot of repetitions, we just do them super well. And again, if you have osteoporosis or you have any injuries in your back, until you learn this. So it was easier with the feet down and holding on. A little more difficult to make it tighter and pick up the heels. Just picking up the heels by using the low abs and tilting back over the sits bones is a graduation. And then you could just stay here with the feet hovering and pull the low belly back, and that will accomplish almost the same thing. All right, the next thing we're going to do is a spine stretch forward. So you're going to sit up as tall as you can. It's as if your back were glued to the wall with Velcro, up your spine, across your shoulders, and on your head. You're going to take your feet wider than a mat if you're on it, wider than your pelvis, and if you cannot straighten out your legs and sit up tall, you just pop your knees up. You're still pressing your heels into the floor, so you're connected at heels and sits bones, and then you're going to take your arms up to shoulder height, like it's a door frame. So you want to be very square here. You don't want to be rounded. So we're going to find this feeling where your legs might be under a coffee table and your hands are on top of it. And you're going to press down on the tabletop and lift that breastbone. So now we're creating space through the vertebra again. Let's just take a couple where we stretch the spine, rolling over the sits bone. So this is similar to what we just did with the rolling like a ball to activate all 4 layers of the abdominals. The one on the front that people want to look like a 6-pack. And if it looks like that, it's usually overdeveloped. And that one helps you fold forward like we're going to do. And it helps you to sit up if you're lying down when we're holding on the back of the leg and we're rolling up. But we're pulling all the abdominals in. And then there are internal and external obliques to help you bend and twist. And underneath there's one called the transversus abdominis. That's a container around your torso. It's the only muscle in the body that has a front, a back, and sides. So when we pull the breastbone up off the belly button, or when we're doing this, pulling the front of the body to the back, or this activation, we're using all 4 layers of your abdominals, and that's what's supporting your organs, your spine, everything. Okay, so now take your arms straight out in front of you. I'm going to straighten my legs because I can. Again, not necessary to get the same accomplished. Okay, hands are on top of the coffee table. Your back is against the imaginary wall. And then you're going to look down your shirt and slide your arms over the table. You're going to pull your abdominals back because you want your low back to stay glued to the wall. And then you're going to stack your spine as if you were putting poker chips or hockey pucks one on top of the other, creating space between them, and settle the shoulders before the head comes up. This is called sequencing. So we're going to look down first, bend at the breastbone. That's that upper ab curl that we learned. And then as you go forward, if your ribs were going to touch the table, you want to lift them up and go over a little further. And again, each time we do this, you're just going for a little bit more, tiny movements to build on each time you do this with great functional movement, so that what we learn well. And then stack on up. One more time, look down, take it forward, lift your ribs over the table, lengthen through the crown of the head, keep your shoulders away from your ears. And each time you do this is an inhale to stack up and an exhale to go forward. And you can play with the breath, but we want the abdominals to support the movement. And as I've mentioned, when we exhale, we're strengthening the abdominals. And the last one we're going to do is called saw. So the arms are in the same position. They're on top of the coffee table. You're going to slide them out to the sides of the table until your thumbs are still on the edge of the table and you can see them in your peripheral vision. And then you're just going to inhale and turn your torso. Thumb up in the front, thumb down in the back, and then just go forward the same way we just did, but pull the arms apart and let your head just drape towards that front arm. To come up, you're going to help with the back arm pushes so that you're using equal use of the torso to make this movement. Turn this way and then take it forward. So we're pulling the abs back, the low back staying glued to that wall. Inhale up through the center. Again, if you have to, settle those shoulders. Feel like you're pushing your thumbs on the edge of the table and lifting the breastbone up. And you can twist a little bit more to go towards the big toe. But you have to have accomplished the one in the center first. Let's take one more time where we turn and reach for the big toe. So those are the first movements that we learn because they are all forward oriented because that's what we're most comfortable with. And so then as we go on, so twisting is not something we normally do, but it was in a forward flexion where our bodies are still more comfortable. And then as we progress, we will take the body into flexion, extension, side bending, and rotating because we want to learn how to go through all ranges of motion, owning all our real estate and decompressing and feeling safe doing it all. Okay, we're going to finish today with just some standing balance. So come up as gracefully as you can. The more gracefully and more smoothly you're moving, that's proof that your body's using muscles, tendons, and ligaments to move you through space. So if you need to hold on to a chair, the wall, whatever you need, we're going to practice balance because it's the first thing we learn as babies is to get up on 2 feet, balance, and move, and it's what we lose first also if we have, created imbalances. So we're going to look down at the feet, and you're going to have that neutral stance, big toes across from each other, a fist could fit between your big toes, and you're just going to pull the breastbone up off the belly button. Shoulders are down away from the ears, and then just find your balance side to side, front and back over the ball of the feet and heels, and then weight one leg, and then just pull the other knee up until it's even with the hip. And you can flex the foot and you'll feel a little bit more. But this is as if you were going up 2 steps. So it's called a 2-step move. And then place that foot down. So we just want to do everything gracefully because that lets the brain accept the information of how we're shifting the weight. We're picking up the leg, and one leg's going to feel completely different than the other. One might shake a little more. And the shaking's good because that means that you're using more intrinsic muscles, the smaller muscles, not letting the big muscles take over and be the boss all the time. And then I'm going to flex my foot, and you're just going to try and move your knee out to the side a little bit and bring it back. Because when we go away from center, this is less stable. Our center line is balance. And again, you can just start with 3 of these. All right. Yeah, this takes a lot of concentration and focus. Shift the weight to the other foot. Feel safe. And you're not tilting over to do it. You're trying to keep as erect as possible. And then just lift that knee up. And again, just start with 3 breaths. And then just 3 out to the side and back. And then we always want to finish balanced on 2 feet. So let's just stand and just bend the knees, ankles, and the hips will fold a little bit. So it looks like this. This just feels good. It's a calf stretch. It's an ankle exercise. Your feet are having to regroup all the balance. And have a great week. Have a good day. And I hope to see you for the next session. You can play this all week long through Radnor Memorial Library's website.